Hello everyone, Professor Christensen at Westchester Community College here. Today we are going to look at the lab that we use in Chapter 12, which is a car loan amortization lab. When you're done finishing this lab, you should be able to create a loan amortization schedule, use the payment and sum functions in Excel, and describe the impact of additional principal payments on the amount of interest paid on a loan. This is very, very important because what we're going to learn is when you pay a little bit extra on your loans, you can save a lot of money in interest. So let's say that you've graduated from college and you finished your first year at work and you're about to buy your first new car. This car is going to cost $48,000 and you're going to pay $5,000 down and borrow $43,000 on a loan for 60 months with an interest rate of 5%. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is open a new Excel file to create a loan amortization schedule. So you can pause this for a second if you want to do that. Mine is already open. And then in the upper left-hand corner, we're going to put this information. So I'm highlighting this table, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it up here in the upper left-hand corner. Now you'll see I have some things put here already to help us get started. I'm making this a little bigger so we can read it. All right, so you might want to pause this for a second, and what you want to do is make sure that you have this copied up here, and then you can also create the columns for your amortization schedule, which is the next thing that we're going to do. So we're going to, before we create our amortization schedule, we're going to calculate the monthly payment on the loan. So let's go back here. And we want to calculate how much will our monthly payment be, and we're going to use the payment function. So equals PMT. I'm going to hit tab. Now notice that our interest rate is 5%, and in the US interest rates by law are stated annually unless they tell you otherwise. So that's a 5% annual interest rate, but we want a monthly interest rate because of course our payments are in months. So the first thing it's asking for is our interest rate, and our interest rate is 5% divided by 12, right? Because we want a monthly interest rate. By the way, I'm going to put a minus in front of this, otherwise you're going to get a negative number. All right, so the next thing this is asking for is NPER, which is the number of periods, which is 60. Put another comma. And then the present value is the $43,000. I'm going to close the parentheses. And we find out that our monthly payment is $811.46. Cars are expensive. Okay, so let's set up our amortization schedule now. So I'm going to just type in, okay, for some reason these are all, some of them are bold and some of them are not. So let me just unbold these. We're going to, let's put our starting carrying value here, and then we'll put our month. So our starting carrying value of our loan, no, we don't want to do that, is equal to the $43,000, right? So these numbers are all going to be formatted as currency, and I'm going to make it negative like that with brackets. All right, so I went here, I clicked here on the number, and it's currency brackets. This way we get our dollar signs and our numbers in cents, dollars and cents. All right, so I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, and then Excel knows I'm going to carry this down until I get to 60 months. That's how long the loan is going to be. All right, next up, our payment. Now, our payment is the same every month. It's $811.46. So I'm saying equal to the $811.46. I'm going to hit F4 to make that an absolute reference. If you're using a Mac, I'm not sure how to do it, or something else, but you can always type in the dollar signs. All right, so the payment is always going to be $811.46. I'm going to double click this, and it's going to carry all the way down for me. So come in here, make sure you get the solid cross like that, double click, and it'll carry it all the way down for you. All right, so our interest now is equal to 5% divided by 12. Let's make this an absolute reference so it'll keep coming back here, right, to look for the 5% divided by 12 times the amount that we owe as of the beginning of that month, which right now is the $43,000. Okay, so our first month, our interest is $179.17. Now, principal is the amount we pay on our principal every month, and that means how much are we reducing our loan each month. So the amount of our principal is equal to how much our payment is minus how much interest we paid that month. So in the first month, you're paying $632 toward interest. Your carrying value at the end of the month is equal to your prior carrying value minus how much interest you paid. Okay, so let's go through that again. So our interest is equal to our 5% divided by 12 times the prior carrying value. Our principal is equal to the total payment that we made minus the interest that we paid. The rest is going to principal. And then the carrying value is reduced each month by the amount that you pay on principal. All right, now I'm just going to highlight these three, double click them, and that carries the loan all the way down until we have zero. All right, after our 60th payment, we owe $0. All right, so let's just come down here and let's get some totals. Let me go back to my instructions and make sure I didn't forget anything. Create a loan amortization. Okay, I'm going to put in the totals because I happen to know that we need them. So we're going to put, this is our interest. I'm just going to click auto sum. That's going to give us the total amount of interest we paid. And our principal, let's just check it, should be equal to $43,000, right? And our total payments, let's do that also. So the total that we paid was $48,687.78. Remember, we borrowed $43,000 and then we paid the $56.87 in interest. Okay. All right. So this is supposed to be called original amortization. So let's go back here, call this original amortization. And then we're going to duplicate it. So I'm going to right click on this. I say move or copy, create a copy, move it to the end. And then I'm going to call this new one additional principal. Okay, so let's call this additional principal. So this is going to tell us what happens when we pay a little extra money every month. So remember, this is going to help you if you have a car loan, if you have a mortgage, any kind of loan where you have monthly payments and you can pay a little bit extra principal, you're going to save some money. Okay, so now, instead of the payment we calculated, we're going to change the payment to $1,000 a month, which means that we're paying $188.54 extra principal each month. Now remember, when we calculate our interest, it's based on the previous balance here. So if your balance goes down faster, of course, you're going to be paying less interest, right? So instead of $811.46, let's change this to $1,000. And our principal changes to $1,000. And if you set up your schedule correctly, everything changed for you. And then you're going to notice that what happened down here, we have all these negative numbers. Why? Because our loan is going to be paid off much sooner, right? Our loan is going to be paid off pretty much in like more than a year, or about a year, right? 12 months, about a year before it was going to be repaid before, which is really nice. All right, so of course we don't need. Now, this is a mistake students make sometimes. You shouldn't have negative numbers. What that means is you kept paying the bank after your loan was paid off. Well, certainly we're not going to be paying the bank after our loan was paid off, right? So I'm going to highlight all of these over here. I'm just going to right click and I'm going to delete all of those because we're certainly not going to do that, right? Now, on our last payment, we owe $481.61. So the principal we have to pay on our last payment is the $481.61. And then we have to pay our $201 in interest. So our last payment is actually not $1,000. It's actually equal to this plus this, right? So our last payment is $483.62. and we've paid $43,000 in principal in only 48 months. It's actually a little less, right? 47.5, because we only have to make a half payment that last year. Now, how much interest did we pay in total? $44.8362. How much, let's say, without additional principal? The amount we paid before was equal to this. And our savings, and let's also look at our total payments, and our savings is equal to the difference. So by making a little bit of extra principal every month, you saved $1,204 over the life of the loan. So instead of paying $47,483 over the life, instead of paying $48,687 over the life of the loan, you only paid $47,483. Now this is a 60-month loan, which is a 5-year loan. If you look at how this impacts a mortgage, for example, and you think about this, if you owe money on a mortgage for 30 years, if you make an additional principal payment at the beginning of the mortgage, for 30 years you're not paying interest on that amount that you pay. So, all right, so that's all we have for this lab here. Name your file, loan amortization, with your name, and upload it into, not Connect, but Brightspace. And then you're going to answer the questions below in your Brightspace in the text box when you make your submission. So for example, put question 22-B would be your answer, and you're going to answer the questions down here. Okay? All right. See you in the next video. Remember, always pay extra principal on your loans. Bye for now.